I'm going to be very brief because we do want to hear from two very important people, both to us as citizens of the Commonwealth and also as good Republicans. Bob McDonnell and I go back many, many years, right, Bob? How many years when we first? You're a Commonwealth's attorney.
Yeah, about 28.
About 28 years. And through Bob's performance and his actions as Commonwealth's attorney, through his General Assembly service, and also as governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, I've never known, and I mean this sincerely, a man with more integrity and more personal honesty than Governor Bob McDonnell. And this comes not just from reading memoranda or looking at curricula vitae on Bob. It comes from personal experience, working with him, and also knowing full well all the things that he accomplished. So I'm not going to go on any further because first we'll have Governor McDonnell say a few words and then introduce our candidate. So ladies and gentlemen, Governor Bob McDonnell.
John, I looked at the script, didn't say a few words, it said a PowerPoint for a half an hour. So it's good to be here. Thank you, John and Carol, and thank you for not sending regrets, but sending meatballs and shrimp. I really it's a treat to be here for Jim Evans, and I'm going to say some things about why I think this race is important. But first, let me thank all of you that are here. You know, you could have been watching the Redskins get pummeled again. You could have been doing things with your family, but you chose to do what very few Americans do, and that is to actually actively participate in the democratic process. It's not a spectator sport. Most people treat it that way. It takes energy, it takes intensity, it takes, as I talk about with a lot of people, education about why we're the greatest country on earth for 243 years. It wasn't by accident. It was a core set of beliefs and a core set of principles and a lot of hard work and ingenuity that got us like this and will keep us like this. And who you elect makes all the difference in whether we're a great republic or whether we're going to elect people that want to make us like Venezuela. I mean, there's a lot at stake in this cycle and the ones to follow shortly. But people like you that give their hard-earned money and donate their time and their talent to a campaign is amazing. I talked to Phyllis tonight. 50 years of volunteering for Republican candidates. I haven't been able to keep a job for more than 4 years of my life. I think that's extraordinary what you've done, and the leaders in the Tea Party, the other party leaders that are here for what you do with your thankless but critically important jobs. I want to say thanks to you as well. What you did in particular for Ken and Bill and me back in 2009 when we had a great cycle and swept the elections was tremendous. And we just have to continue to believe that our ideas, powered by you who care about those ideas, is still our great ticket to success going forward. So why are you here?
For the shrimp.
I knew I shouldn't have said that. You're here because you really care about the country.
Right.
You know, the country started on these shores in Virginia Beach, Virginia in 1607, a couple days before Jamestown, 14 to be exact. And so much of American history is defined by what's happened in Virginia. And it used to be, so as Virginia goes, so goes the nation. We're the mother of presidents, 8 presidents, the cradle of democracy. There's so much said about Virginia. And so who we put up and who we nominate and who we advocate and the ideas espoused by Virginians are ones that for a very, very long time have been the ideas that control the nation. Unfortunately, now it's more from California coming this way, a trend that I think we probably need to reverse. But I hope you're here because you care deeply about what Jim Evans stands for and the conservative values that have made this the most exceptional nation that I think God has ever allowed to exist on the earth. Yes, we've got a lot of wars. Yes, we've had the evil abomination of slavery. Yes, we've had multiple other mistakes and had people in office that maybe weren't always good stewards of the public trust. But overall, what we have been able to accomplish with God's grace and help here in America has really been extraordinary. And electing good men and women to continue in that line in Virginia, I think, is vitally important to the future of the country. So I'm delighted to be here for Jim, because I just think he's just a good and decent man. I've known Chris for, I don't know, 20, what's Chris, 25 or so years?
1992.
Was it 92? That's only a little shorter time than you've known Jim, so I feel 39 years, apparently. But when she was a leader at Stonebridge and a leader in the Republican Party, she would help me during my campaigns and allow me to come and speak to that incredible school over there that understands a lot of the Judeo-Christian principles of the country, and be able to talk about those for a while. So anyway, I'm delighted to be here. But by the way, the Dietrichs, I want to just say, have been incredible supporters of conservative candidates for so long. I met John because I had him on the witness stand, so he first. I was a young prosecutor. Actually, he was my witness, so I did get to prepare him, but it was a horrible child sex abuse case, and John did a terrific job, and we won. We've been friends ever since, and there's no more dedicated activist than Carol Dietrich. She's just been extraordinary. Not just in Chesapeake, but the races in Portsmouth, Virginia Beach, and all over the region. She's just got a deep passion for our cause and our party. And Carol, you're really phenomenal. I really appreciate everything. Absolutely. So let's talk about what's at stake. Right now we have the closest margins that we've ever had in recent history in the House and the Senate, with a 51-49 majority in the House, and we have a 21-19 majority in the Virginia Senate. Now, if you know the trends of history, and where's my historian? Okay, a couple of historians. Okay, everybody's raising their hand now. You know, we had no Republican majority from the Civil War to 1997. It took a long time to get to even these meager majorities. Now, a couple of years ago, we had a 2-to-1 majority in the House and a couple seat majority in the Senate. But, you know, the state's getting more purple. All the people that hate all the high taxes in New York and New Jersey, guess what? They're leaving them and coming to Virginia, but they're still voting like they voted there. That's part of our problem. In Northern Virginia has gone unfortunately very blue over the last couple cycles. So to keep the Republicans and the conservative cause to be the dominant government in Virginia, we have to do well in other places in the state, which includes this district, this district right here. And so, Jim, where's Jim? Oh, Jim, come on up here. You're the candidate. You're not supposed to stand in the back. Now, first of all, doesn't this guy look like a candidate? I mean, like he is GQ for the General Assembly, right? He's got the whole Republican conservative uniform. But more importantly is what's right in here.
That's right.
And that's why I came out here on Sunday to support him. I know the values that he stands for. He's pro-family, he's pro-life, he's for limited government. You will not hear Jim say, vote for me and you get free stuff. Which seems to be the only thing that the other side can talk about these days.
You better not, I know where he lives.
Which is really an absolutely immoral platform. When you're $23 trillion in debt, the highest debt as a percentage of GDP in the history of the United States of America, and you say vote for me, there's more free stuff if you vote for me. It's a reckless philosophy that'll damage the American dream for our kids. And so that's why we need people like Jim that understand limited conservative government, that actually understand math. If you spend more than you bring in, it doesn't work, right, Jim? Yeah, that's correct. But he's a businessman. He spent a couple decades working for a large company. He's been an advocate. He understands how important it is to actually sign the front of a paycheck and not just the back of a paycheck. That corporations are not the devil. Wall Street's not evil. These are the people that create not only the jobs, but most of the philanthropy in the country. We should encourage success, not demonize it and want to punish it. I remember the days that, your parents would take you by a house like this, and they should say, if you work hard and follow the American dream and be honest and help people and use your God-given talents, well, one day you might live in a house like this. Now you hear, those people live in a house like this because they took stuff from other people, they didn't follow the rules, they inherited. It's horrible what we have done in the secular progressive left to describe the American dream. And so as a result of that, we're about to pass on the most insecure and fiscally insolvent country in over 2 centuries. And that's why good men like Jim Evans need to be in office. He does understand budgeting. He has all those traditional values that I think you're here for, because most of you have told me you are for limited government, you're for lower taxes, you're pro-life, you're pro-family, you believe that a nation without borders is no nation at all. These are traditional, not radical things at all, but these are the things that have been part and parcel of our nation's ethos for a very, very long time. So this election is important, and if you look at paper, you say, well, this is the 30% Republican district, we can't win. First of all, you're here, so you don't really believe that. Okay. Secondly, those of you that know the scriptures, you would say, well, David thought that when he was going up against Goliath for just a minute until he understood God's incredible grace and providence. And I imagine that Job thought there'd be no end to the suffering, even as early as chapter 1, but by chapter 42, God was restoring everything double. Gideon certainly thought that, and he thought he didn't have enough men, and God said, I want you to only have 300 men, and I'm going to still give you the victory so you know who's in charge. So my whole point is, Jim's a man of faith, and he trusts in God and doesn't look at his own circumstances, but believes that through faith and hard work and an army of people that care about the cause and will put forth their time and their talent, that you can win. You tell people what you believe in, you can win. The other thing right now is you got a party that's somewhat in disarray. Matthew James has left the office, not on the best of terms, I would think it's fair to say. And you got 2 Democrats, one running as a Democrat, one running as an independent, that are squabbling, that are hammering each other, and kind of ignoring Jim, which is exactly where you want to be. My first run for the House of Delegates in '91, I was completely ignored by my opponent and kind of ran a stealth knocking on those doors campaign and won by 6 points. I'm only here to tell you that this is a doable race, but it's going to take an extraordinary effort from people. So I'm going to close as I introduce Jim by asking you to do this. You're investors in this campaign. Now, if you were an investor in Walmart, would you shop at Walmart?
Absolutely.
Of course. If you're an investor in a particular shoe store, you're going to go shop at that shoe store, right? So here's what I want to tell you. Don't let this be your last investment. There's 30 days left in this campaign. Because you're here on a Sunday afternoon and doing what only 1 or 2% of Americans do, you can be opinion leaders. I don't care if you live in the district or not. You can email people that live in the district and say, I'm not going to tell you, you can email people that you know that live in the district and say, I've met Jim Evans, I know he's a good man, I know he will represent you well, vote for him. If you live in the district or have a business in the district, you send an email to your employees and say, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but I can tell you who's best for our company, and that's Jim Evans. Don't leave here without a yard sign. I hope you got yard signs. You got yard signs? Okay. Well, get napkins and write Jim Evans for delegate on it. But my point is, there are still things you can do. What do we have here, 80 people?
I think so.
Okay.
Yep, at least.
80 people calling 10 friends. What's that math? 800 people. This could potentially not be a very high turnout election. There's no governor's race, there's no presidential race. Generally, that means the votes are down. It could be 30%, it could be 25%. You just don't know. So it's not going to take a large number of votes to actually get a plurality in a three-person race. So this race is doable. How many of you remember Earl Mobley, who was a Commonwealth attorney here in Portsmouth?
Yep.
I was at an event last night where we honored him by establishing a scholarship in his name at Regent University because he was such a great lawyer. Earl was the first Republican to win the Portsmouth Commonwealth Attorney's Office in 100 years plus. No, everybody thought he couldn't win either. But you know what? He knocked on the doors, he looked at people. By his warm Christian spirit, he convinced people that he was fair and honest and good. That's the same kind of characteristics Jim Evans has. Amen. So I'm telling you, walk out of here believing and do those things above and beyond. Get out of your comfort zone. The Redskins are probably going to lose next week, so you don't need to watch that game. You can work for Jim Evans next Sunday. So anyway, I'm delighted to be here for Jim and for Chris. I know she's working hard, as she did for me and others, and it's my honor now to introduce your next delegate from the 80th District, Jim Evans.
I want to thank you all so much for coming, and I want to thank the Dietrich case for opening their home to this event because it's a blessing to us in Portsmouth. And what Bob had said to you is really true. We've been running a silent campaign, just knocking on doors, and we're changing people. And what we started out with, we had pretty much pegged what was going on. Education, crime, government transparency. Because what's been happening in Portsmouth, people feel like they're not being told everything. And so things just pop up, and all of a sudden we have issues with our educational system. We had a $52 million issue. They said we had an $11 million issue with it. And our educational system, our student body is shrinking. And we're giving more money to education. But we still have 3 schools that are not accredited. We have to make a change. And what we've got to do is move away from the old philosophies that have taken place in Portsmouth. Because, folks, I don't think we've had a candidate run for this position for 8 to 10 years. Jennifer Lee, I believe, was the last person to run. And one of the things that's happening to us in the Commonwealth of Virginia is that we're having outside money, big dollars coming in for the Democrats. And, folks, we have to keep the majority in the House. And we can do that together. And we've got to start thinking statewide. We've got to start thinking across the Commonwealth. How can I help get these positions back to a conservative, to someone who thinks limited government and letting people make their choices? Now, I attended a meeting where I got to hear part of the agenda for what's coming up in the spring. And it comes from a person who has a lot of power. Medicaid expansion. They were talking about 280,000 more people. They will be advertising to put people onto the rolls just as we did for welfare when LBJ started the welfare program. Gun control. It's coming and it's going to be very serious. And I don't think that any law-abiding citizen should have their Second Amendment rights infringed upon. You're a law-abiding citizen. If you break that law, you lose that opportunity to carry a gun or to own a gun. And folks, with your help, we are winning this battle because as we go door to door and knocking on doors, I'm hearing people say, I'm really dissatisfied. I don't care who's running, I'm voting for whoever's not in. And when you have a staunch Democrat tell you, I'm a Democrat, but I'm voting for you because we've lost our minds. Okay? And these are people that realize what's going on. And I want to let you know that your investments in us in Portsmouth, in me in Portsmouth, will pay off. Because I plan to move this Commonwealth back to conservative values. I've been endorsed by the VCDL, okay, and I've also been endorsed by the Virginia Society for Human Life. And I want to let you know, I believe that life begins at conception. Okay? And when we look at Scripture, I hope I can get this across right, because it may not come across right. But you know how when God was talking to Moses and he made the laws, and then you find out, well, why do we have divorce? And he said, we have divorce because your hearts are so hard, I had to give away. Okay? In the abortion argument, all pregnancies terminate after 9 months. For our son, it was earlier than that. He was premature. But I want to let you know that with the pro-life programs that are out there that are not connected to any government, they're connected to churches, they're connected to nonprofits, they have places for these babies to go. And there are people that will love them, hold on to them. And the reason that we're accepting race is because of the hardness of our hearts. And we look at the situation that people are in. And the one other, let me explain to you why I stand there. I have friends who are born from rape. And now think about that. I would have lost a very good friend, a friend who is not on a government program, earns money, pays for his family, and lives in my community, and is a help to his community. And I also know other people who have come out of the situation of rape. And you know what? There is so much given to us when a child is conceived. We need to find a way to make a place for them, not a place to do without them. And so now I wanted you to understand why I stand so strongly in the pro-life category. And the other reason why I stand so strongly is for a limited government is because Scripture tells us that if you let it get out of control, it becomes a tiger, and it will eat you alive. And you will have a tyrannical government. And the first thing they'll do is they're going to take away the right for private property, and they're going to take away the right to own a weapon, to defend yourself against the government. And folks, what you're giving to us in Portsmouth, we're removing that. I was just in a debate where he was already pushing gun control. Okay? And I want you to know it's coming, and they're coming strong. And they believe that they're going to be changing the House of Delegates, and they're going to have the rule. The Democrats will rule. And so we've got to get together. We've got to start coming together and be one and going forward. And Bob, I want to thank you for the introduction, and I want to thank you for serving, and I wish you would run again. You are a blessing to Virginia.
Yes.
And we need to bring those blessings back. And folks, thank you for the blessing of giving to us for winning the Portsmouth House of Delegates 80th District, because we'll be knocking on doors tomorrow. And if you want to knock on doors with me, please call, because we need help during the week. We walk on Saturdays.
And the weather's beautiful.
Yeah, the weather's, and I want to let you know, share real quickly, I was walking in July and August. And I knocked on a door, and the lady said, "You know how hot it is?" I said, "It's hot." she goes, "My garden thing says it's 110 degrees. And I said, "I believe it." And she gave me a cold bottle of water. Now I want to tell you too about the people of Portsmouth. I had people come out of their houses and offer to knock on doors with me in their neighborhood. One lady walked over to the window and was banging on it. She goes, "This guy's hard of hearing." He came out and he says, "Put 2 signs in my yard." Okay. Now this is in a highly Democratic area. And I want to tell you too, Portsmouth gets really a bum rap because I have visited the neighborhoods. I could not believe how tight they are, how the communities communicate with each other and they watch out for each other. But I was able to meet a lot of people, and I want to let you know that going door to door, they're saying, "You're the first person that's knocked on my door. Wow. I'm voting for you." And you're going to see people of all walks of life coming to us. Now, I've taken a lot of your time, and thank you for a wonderful introduction, and thank you for your giving, and please continue to give, because if you all need my support, I'm there. If you need me to walk in your area, Chesapeake, Suffolk, let me know. because we've got to bring the Commonwealth back to conservative ideals.
And we've got to stand together, not just for our own district or city, but for the whole region. It's very important. We have people here from Chesapeake, Suffolk, Isle of Wight, Portsmouth, and Norfolk. Pepe Capitoy, I didn't have you on the list as the vice chair of the 3rd district. I'm sorry. But anyway, it's really important that we all hang together. We're all Republicans.
One thing I wanted to share real quickly, and I'm glad you brought up the Isle of Wight issue. One of the things that brought me into politics this year, that lady called in and said, I need your help, Jim. I'm not able to make payments on this issue. And I said, well, tell me what's going on. She says, well, my city raised its taxes, and the county raised its taxes, and it's doubled my house payment. And I can't pay you. And I said, well, I understand the house is the first thing you're paying. And then I realized how disconnected the leadership of the communities are. And it's like that in Portsmouth. They're disconnected. And we need to bring back people that serve, not oppress, but serve. And that's one of the reasons I want to bring back servant leadership to Portsmouth. So again, that's my last word. Thank you very much.